4 things you need to do to prepare in case you lose your job in 2026. Hi, my name is Leah Chantel, and I usually talk about relationships. Recently, I'm noticing people are really suffering with losing their jobs and struggling to find new employment. And that ties in and is related to relationships because it's pretty difficult nowadays to survive without an income and keep a relationship going unless you happen to be a stay-at-home mom. But even then, you're usually expected to go back to work at some point. So here are 4 things you can do if you are currently employed to prevent your career from going under if you actually lose your job, so you bounce back later. So the first thing you need to do when you are successfully employed and you haven't lost your job yet and you just want to make sure you're protecting your career and you're not going to lose your career, get to know people who can potentially help you if you need to find a new job. And don't ask them for anything at first. And when you're employed, you don't need to ask for anything. That's the one powerful advantage of doing this while you still have a good job and you're relatively comfortable. Get to know people and be really generous when you network. Be willing to just ask them how their work is going and ask them what their current challenges are and how they're handling them, and see if you can help fill a need for them while you're gainfully employed. And if you're willing to just listen and give first and you don't need anything because you're successfully employed in the moment, you can provide a lunch or provide a coffee to talk to somebody and get to know them. You're in a very powerful position later should you ever lose your job. And they may even be able to help you before you lose your job. Maybe they will see an opportunity opening up somewhere for you that you can take advantage of. And these people you want to network with are not usually your close friends and family. It's usually people on the fringes of your network. You might want to ask for an informational interview. It may not amount to anything, but it never hurts to talk to people in your community in a similar profession as you and get to know them and offer them something, because they may be able to help you later. But also try to offer them help today. If you're really good at finding money for their organization, offer them venues to help them raise money to help improve their workplace. If you're good at writing, offer a friend who has a startup who's really good at coding some help with their marketing and help make the writing a little bit more polished for them. If somebody needs to make a contact in local government and you happen to know the person through your parents or through somebody else you know, see if you can facilitate a meeting between the two people in order to get something productive done. You can help in so many different creative ways. A big part of figuring that out is just listening to the person and taking it home and thinking about it. The solutions that you want to offer them may not arise in your mind right away, but if you're paying attention and you're not just zoning out during the time you're spending with this person, which is extremely valuable, you may find solutions for them that make them very happy. The second tip I want to give to help prevent you from losing your job or help you be successful in case you lose your job is to build an emergency fund. And it's probably more than you think. So you don't just want to have an emergency fund to survive and keep your food and shelter if you lose your job, but you want to have a little bit more tucked away so you're able to travel, go to job fairs, network, or potentially relocate for a new opportunity if you need to relocate. Because then you're going to feel a lot more relaxed if you lose your job that you have resources to live off of. And just because you get some kind of unemployment benefits, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to cover all your needs in that time. In fact, your needs are probably greater when you're looking for a job because you need to spend money potentially to get to know people or pursue opportunities. So you don't actually want to be short on money and saying, oh, I just have enough to eat. I can't afford to go to this place to meet this person, because that's going to cut off a lot of opportunities from you. And you also want to get to know people in person before you take a new job if you can, because you have a better sense of what the job is about or what the people are about before you even begin that new venture. My third piece of advice in order to help get you back on your feet if you lose your job later while you have a job now is to develop your skills, especially your skills in AI. The more you learn about AI, the less likely you are to be replaced by it in the future. So if you know how to do the command prompts and how to ask it questions and get it to design solutions for you, You can figure out what parts of your job you have now you could potentially automate and what parts you add value, particularly as an employee. Where does your judgment and your skill actually serve the organization best that can't be done by AI? And if you figure that out, then your job is going to be more protected from AI should layoffs happen in the future. But building any skill could be valuable. If speaking another language is helpful for your organization, then do that. If learning another coding language is helpful, then do that. Whatever you think is going to move your organization forward, learn skills that complement whatever your organization is doing currently. And then my last piece of advice, in order to help you, should you ever lose your job while you still have a job, is that you want to take on difficult projects at work that force you to grow. If you're not very good at math, but you have an opportunity to do something with math in a way that's safe and you're not going to disrupt your workplace, but you have that opportunity to grow and become good at something new, then take on those opportunities. Don't be scared because you weren't good at it in the past. And yes, you'll probably go through an uncomfortable phase at work where you're not performing as well because you are learning something new, but that's going to pay off because you can develop a new skill and a new competency that'll stop you from getting laid off. Or if you do get laid off, you can parlay it into whatever your new opportunity is. So those are my 4 pieces of advice to help you not only keep your job now, but also help you survive should you lose your job later. As sensitive people, your jobs are very important to your relationships because if your job changes and you need to relocate, that basically wipes out whatever relationship you had. If you have a family and one person needs to go one way and the other person needs to go the other, that can mean potentially divorce. It can mean breaking up. That's why maintaining your job and looking after it is very important, especially if you live in a very small region where there aren't a lot of jobs. You have to be really careful then because you don't want to lose your income and have to rebuild your life from scratch if anything goes sideways.